I, 30M, found out my girlfriend used a girl's trip to cheat, so I planned the perfect revenge. This all started about 6 months ago, and I still can't believe how it all went down. My girlfriend, Jenna, 28F, and I had been together for almost 3 years. Everything seemed great. She's fun, smart, and we always had a good time together. But there was one thing: her best friend, Emily, 29F. Emily and Jenna had been besties since college, and I always got a weird vibe from her. She was a little too friendly with Jenna, if you know what I mean. I'd even joke about it sometimes, calling her Jenna's girlfriend, but Jenna would just laugh it off. Little did I know how accurate that was. Fast forward to last spring. Jenna tells me she's going on a girls' trip with Emily and some other friends for the weekend. I didn't think much of it. I trusted her, and it's not like she hadn't done this before. They were going to a cabin, no cell service, just getting away from it all. I didn't expect to hear from her much, but something about this trip felt off. Maybe it was the way she was a little too excited to get away, or how she was super secretive about the details. But whatever, I let it slide. The weekend went by, and everything seemed normal when she got back. She was cheerful, gave me a quick summary of the trip, lots of wine, gossip, and hikes, apparently, and things went back to normal. But about 2 weeks later, I noticed her phone lighting up late at night with texts from Emily. The conversations would stop when I came into the room, or she'd suddenly flip her phone face down. That's when the suspicions started creeping in. I decided to wait. I didn't want to be the crazy, jealous boyfriend snooping through her phone. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One night, Jenna left her phone on the coffee table and went to take a shower. I don't usually do this, but curiosity got the better of me. I took a quick peek. The first thing I saw was a series of texts between her and Emily, but not the regular stuff. The messages were flirty, talking about how much fun they had on the girls' trip and how they couldn't wait to do it again. But what really made my stomach drop was a message from Emily saying, "That night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about it. When's our next escape?" Escape. Not trip. Not vacation. Escape. My heart was pounding. I scrolled back and found more messages from during the trip, talking about how they couldn't keep their hands off each other. The so-called girls' trip was really just a cover for her and Emily to hook up. I felt sick. Not only was Jenna cheating, but she was doing it with her best friend, right under my nose. But instead of confronting her right away, I decided to play the long game. I knew if I just exploded on her, she'd try to deny everything or spin it in some way. I needed her to feel the pain she caused me. I was going to make this the slowest, most satisfying revenge. For the next few weeks, I acted completely normal. I didn't let on that I knew. In fact, I became even more attentive, more loving. I planned dates, bought her little gifts, acted like the perfect boyfriend. All the while, I was gathering more information. Every time she'd mention hanging out with Emily, I'd smile and say, "Oh, have fun," even though I knew what was really going on. Then, I started planting the seeds of doubt. I'd mention how my work friend was going through a rough breakup because his girlfriend cheated on him. I'd bring up how some people in relationships could be really deceptive, hiding things from their partners. Jenna would look at me nervously, but she never said anything. The guilt was starting to weigh on her, I could see it. The real fun started when I told her I had to go on a work trip for a weekend. I knew she'd see it as the perfect opportunity to be with Emily. I even gave her some money, saying, "Why don't you treat yourself to a nice weekend while I'm away?" She bought the bait. I didn't go on a work trip. I booked a hotel in the same town, just far enough away so she wouldn't suspect anything. Then I called Emily's boyfriend. Yep, she had one, too. I told him everything. He was just as shocked as I was, and we decided to team up. We'd both show up unannounced that weekend and catch them in the act. The weekend came and sure enough, Jenna told me she was going to hang out with Emily. "Just some girl time," she said with a wink. Little did she know, I was already setting my plan in motion. That Saturday night, Emily's boyfriend and I showed up at her place. We knocked on the door, and the look on both their faces when they opened it? Priceless. They were in pajamas, wine glasses in hand, clearly not expecting us. Jenna's face went pale, and she stammered something about it being a girls' night, but I wasn't having it. I calmly pulled out my phone and showed her the texts between her and Emily. Emily's boyfriend did the same. They both started crying, trying to explain, saying it just happened and it didn't mean anything. Jenna even tried to turn it on me, saying I wasn't there for her emotionally, that's why she turned to Emily. Classic cheater move. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "You know what, Jenna? I've known for weeks. I've been planning this. You wanted to sneak around behind my back? Well, now the game's over." I could see the realization hit her, she knew she was screwed. I left her there, sobbing on Emily's couch. Moved out of our apartment the next day and blocked her on everything. I've heard through mutual friends that she's been a wreck ever since, but honestly, I don't care. She got exactly what she deserved. So, Reddit, AITA, for planning this elaborate revenge after finding out my girlfriend was cheating on me? I, 29M, found out my girlfriend used her girls' trip to cheat on me, so I flipped the script and got my revenge. Hey Reddit, I've been lurking here for a while, and I've read my fair share of wild stories. I never thought I'd be posting my own, but here we are. This all started about 4 months ago, and it's still messing with my head. My girlfriend, Claire, 27F, and I had been together for almost 4 years. Things were good, or so I thought. We lived together, had a solid group of mutual friends, and we were even talking about moving into a bigger place to start a family. I was all in. But little did I know, Claire had some different plans. So, Claire has this group of girlfriends she's known since college. They do these girls' trips once or twice a year, usually to some cabin, beach house, or whatever place they've decided is Instagram-worthy. I never had an issue with it. I thought it was cool she stayed close with her friends and, frankly, a weekend to myself wasn't a bad deal either. Last spring, Claire tells me she's planning a weekend away with her friends, including her best friend, Natalie, 28F. Now, Natalie has always been a bit of a wild card. Party girl, loves the attention, always out at bars and posting about it. But I figured if Claire could handle her, no big deal, right? Wrong. Claire seemed extra excited about this trip, like, really excited. Normally, she'd just casually mention these weekends, but this time she couldn't stop talking about it. At first, I didn't think much of it, but then she started acting strange. Hiding her phone more often, laughing at texts, and not sharing the joke like she used to. I asked her about it, and she brushed it off, saying they were just planning some surprises for the trip. Then came the weekend. Claire heads off with her luggage, gives me a quick kiss, and says she'll miss me. I don't hear much from her after that. I get it, no self-service in the mountains, right? Wrong again. 2 days into her trip, I get a text from one of her friends, who I know but don't talk to often. Let's call her Emma, 27F. The message was short but shook me. Hey, you might want to check on Claire. I think something's going on with her and Natalie. I froze. My heart was racing. I asked Emma what she meant, but she just said she didn't want to get involved and that she'd already said too much. After pressing her for details, Emma finally admitted that Claire and Natalie had been getting really close lately, and this trip was more about them spending time together than it was about hanging out with the group. They'd been disappearing together during the day and coming back late at night. I was furious and hurt, but I wasn't going to blow up right away. Instead, I came up with a plan. I knew Claire would try to cover her tracks if I confronted her too soon, so I decided to bide my time and get concrete proof. I thanked Emma, told her I'd handle it, and spent the next 2 days playing it cool while internally I was losing it. When Claire got back from the trip, she acted like everything was totally normal. She even brought me back a souvenir, saying how much she missed me. But now, I was hyper-aware of her behavior. I noticed her texting Natalie more frequently, always with a sly smile. I knew something was up, and I wasn't going to sit around and let her lie to my face. So, I dug a little deeper. Claire had a habit of using the same passwords for everything. I knew it wasn't the most ethical move, but I logged into her email one night when she was asleep. Sure enough, there were messages between her and Natalie, confirming everything Emma had hinted at. They had hooked up multiple times on the trip. Natalie even joked in one of the emails, "Can't wait for our next girls' weekend, winky face." I felt like my world was crashing down, but I kept my cool. Instead of confronting Claire immediately, I started plotting. I wanted her to feel what it's like to be blindsided, betrayed. I started thinking of ways to turn the tables. The perfect opportunity came a few weeks later when Claire told me she and Natalie were planning another girls' trip. I played along, acted like the trusting boyfriend, and said I'd be fine with her going. But I had no intention of letting her get away with it again. Here's where the revenge comes in. I called Natalie's long-term boyfriend, Mark, 30M. We weren't super close, but we'd hung out a few times at group gatherings. I told him everything, about the emails, the trip, the lies. Mark was furious, but we both agreed we wouldn't confront them head-on. Instead, we'd give them enough rope to hang themselves. So, the weekend of their next trip comes. I tell Claire I'm going to be out of town for work, but really, I stay back and head straight to the city where they're supposed to be staying. I book a hotel nearby and keep tabs on them through social media, tracking their location updates. It didn't take long to figure out what they were up to. Claire and Natalie were posting like it was just another fun girls' weekend, but I knew better. The night before their trip ended, Mark and I made our move. We showed up at their hotel unannounced, and the look on Claire and Natalie's faces when they saw us? Worth every second of planning. They were in the middle of having drinks in their room, looking cozy and clearly not expecting us. Claire tried to play it off at first, saying they were just having a girls' night, but I calmly pulled out the printed emails between her and Natalie. She went pale. Natalie, for her part, didn't say much, just sat there like a deer in headlights. I told Claire that I knew everything, and that I had known for weeks. I told her I wasn't some fool she could string along while sneaking around with her best friend. Mark wasn't as calm as I was. He went off on Natalie, calling her a liar and a cheater. Both of them started crying, but it was too late. I left the hotel that night and never looked back. I packed up my stuff from our apartment while Claire was still recovering from her trip and told her we were done. She tried to apologize, begged for forgiveness, but I wasn't interested. She made her bed with Natalie, now she could lie in it. The best part? Emma told me that after I left, things between Claire and Natalie fell apart too. Apparently, Natalie wasn't as committed as Claire thought, and their little fling fizzled out quickly. Claire's been trying to reach out ever since, but I've moved on. So, Reddit, AITA, for plotting my revenge and catching my cheating girlfriend in the act.